You're watching The Whole Living Show on Trajectory TV.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Whole Living Show. We are so glad that you are here. And you know how I start this off. As always, I have an amazing guest waiting backstage. But before we bring on our guest and introduce our guest, I want to talk about what's happening in the Northeast of the United States and in Canada. Wow, is all I can say. I'm going to show you guys pictures of the air quality. So there have been wildfires happening in Canada in the Quebec and Nova Scotia areas. And now that air, that smoke has been coming into New York, parts of New York City, even parts of Boston. So it stretches from New York City to Boston, New Jersey. And I think some of the Western states are getting it as well. But the air quality is horrible. New York is on red for air quality, everybody. So if you are out in that area, the New York, New Jersey area, Washington, D.C. even, it stretches down that far. If you are in those areas, stay inside as much as you possibly can. If you're going outside, make sure you don't spend too much time walking around. This is not the time to actually take walks. And, you know, the weather is just crazy there. And not really the weather, but just the air quality is just crazy. And I want to show you guys pictures. And I'm going to apologize ahead of time because I didn't have pictures put in here, but I'm going to share my screen so that I can show pictures. I am in the North Carolina area, so they're saying that our air quality even is moderate, but in comparison to the New York, New Jersey area, it is unhealthy to be out there. And I actually know an extended family member who was driving a limousine in New York City today, has a heart condition, and had to be rushed to the hospital, so should not have been out in that air. They're saying that if you're out in the air for 1 hour, it's like smoking 6 cigarettes, okay? So we want you to be safe in those areas. We want to make sure that you are, now is the time. We wore masks during the pandemic. I would say put a mask back on if you have to be outside so that you're not breathing in as much of the smoke, but move swiftly and get to where you need to go swiftly so that you are not breathing it in. And for those of you who have, some health conditions, making sure that you are being mindful of, what's happening in your body while you are out there if you have to be out. So I'm going to share my screen because I just want to show some of the pictures. I had some friends and coworkers in New York who were talking to me about, just how it looked and how it looked like a scary movie, right? Or that like nighttime. So I just want to show these pictures because I want everybody to really be really careful. So I'm going to share my screen here so that everyone can see this. And I'm going to switch over my screen over to some of the pictures here. And I hope you can see these as they're coming in. But people are tweeting about it, and sorry, but this is not showing as well as I would like to. But you can see here, like, look at how dark it is in New York City and seeing all the buildings. Look at this. I mean, it's like red, red and brown coloring here. And some people were even describing that it's just dark yellow. But the pictures are telling, right? This is what it looks like in these areas. This is what it looks like in Canada, in New York City. So we want to make sure that you all out there are just really being safe, particularly if you have things like asthma, any type of respiratory issues. We want you to make sure that you are staying safe, that you are ensuring that you're not out there for long periods of time. Don't compromise your health at all. If you must go out very quickly. So I just wanted to talk about that because it's happening, and it's something that we're not used to in that area. I'm originally from the New Jersey area, so just continuing to check on my family to make sure that they are okay. And I'm trying to get everybody to move to North Carolina. So this is one of those things where I'm like, come down to North Carolina, just everybody come, all my friends, all my family, just come to North Carolina. The air is cleaner at the moment, right? So that's just my excuse for getting people to move to North Carolina. But at the same time, I'm concerned about my family members there and just want to make sure everyone is okay and that you're staying safe. So I thought it was worth mentioning right here on the show because we like to keep you healthy. This is the Whole Living Show, everybody. So tonight I have the most amazing spirit here with me of a person. He is a human being, a beautiful soul of a person. The very first time that I met him, which was on a virtual live, and you all were here last week, and I had Marilyn Morales on. Me, him, and Marilyn Morales were on the same virtual conference. And I just had the opportunity to meet such wonderful people. And Mr. Raul Marin is no exception to that. He is such a beautiful soul. And he spoke at this conference. And when I heard him speak, something hit me really deep, to be perfectly honest with you. And I'm not going to tell this story because I want him to tell the story here. But when I heard his story, I said to him afterwards, I'm like, wow, you are such a beautiful soul, just because of the way he chose. And I'm saying chose because in this life, we have a choice, right? And we can either be proactive or reactive, right? And he chose just to honor who he is as a person, and I'm going to say honor our higher spirit, our Father, in the way that he chose to deal with the situation. And that to me just sound the alarm. I'm like, he's just a beautiful person through and through. So I'm going to read his bio first, and then I'm going to bring him on in. And when I do, I want you to give him a big virtual round of applause. So let me tell you a little bit more about Mr. Raul Marin. All right, here we go. Mr. Raul Marin is an award-winning speaker and is also known as the Wise Wolf Poet. And we're going to get into why he calls himself that as well. And author of Rise with Gratitude, Poems to Inspire Your Growth and Greatness, and the founder of the Poetic Freedom Summit. And he is going to be reading from his very own book. So I would say get your tissues or you're going to get inspired. But we want to make sure that you are paying attention because, the poems in the book are absolutely amazing. He is the host of the Wise Hour with the Wise Wolf Facebook Live show, a co-founder of the Empowered Journey Mastermind, a group of personal growth, and a Maxwell leadership speaker, coach, and trainer. Absolutely amazing. He is a founding member of the Connected Leaders Academy. He has worked for 18 years in adult ESL education and as a DJ, and I love that, and photographer for private events for 18 years. He is also an avid runner who has completed many 5K, 10K, and half marathon races Wow. And believes that when we all share our talents, the world is a much brighter place. And I absolutely agree with him. So I want everybody out there to give him a virtual round of applause. And we are bringing in Mr. Raul Marin. Woo! Hello, my beautiful soul. How are you?
How are you, my beautiful soul friend? Thank you for that warm welcome. It was
Absolutely,
beautiful.
absolutely. And you know, I just have to say this too, just even coming in, and I know we talked just briefly backstage, and you were saying, that it's been a day and you are in the area where the air quality is not so great, but you're still radiating so much light.
Yes.
And you're still wearing the smile. So before we get started on your full story, talk to me about how you manage to do that in the midst of having just a crazy day and the air quality, and you're still radiating so much light and you're smiling. Talk to us about that.
I am, first and foremost, I'm a man of faith. I believe in God, and if you don't believe in Him, I, I'm sure there's something that people believe in that's their core that neutralizes them, keeps them grounded.
Hmm.
And that's what He is for me. Despite everything that's happening around me,
Yeah.
um, He reminds me every day, I'm with
Mhm.
you. And as long as I'm with you and as long as I'm on this earth, that He's given me this heart, I feel that it's my mission to love people and to spread His peace, His light, and His joy. So
Yeah,
that's
I
that's
love
that's my
that.
why.
Yeah. And see everybody, you can see why I was so drawn to him. And he is my friend. He is my beautiful friend. But this is why I was so drawn to you, because it like oozes from you, honestly. Really. And listen, there are a lot of good people out there, but you don't find that often, where people just really ooze light, even though you may have challenges in your life, but you just ooze it. And I just love, the way you communicate, like how you decide to be the person that you are through faith first, right? I
Hmm.
love that. So I want to get into a little bit more of your background. Talk to us about how the Wise Wolf Poet came about.
Yeah, he's my alter ego in terms of literature and writing. And I tell you, when I go to live events now, it's either Raul or Raul.
And I love that. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because when you first told me about that, I was like, that's so fitting. So let's just do that together really quickly, right?
Yeah.
One, two, three.
Raul.
Raul. And look, and I think that's so fitting with the way the weather looks and the way the air quality is in New York, right? And the way it looks like it's time to howl at the moon, bro. So I love that. That's a little joke, everybody, but
I love
I
it.
absolutely love that. So
Shout
talk to
out.
us about, again, what, how the Wise Wolf Poet came about.
So I love to recognize the poets either before me or those who are doing poetry with me at this current time. And of course I honor those that are not poets yet, but they're finding their inner poet.
Yeah.
There's a contemporary poet. I believe his real name is Diego. I'm so fond of his poetry. I don't even know what his real name is. I just know his poet name, which
Mhm.
is Young Pueblo, which translates to like Young Town, right?
Mhm.
And when I started to really love and embrace this poet in me that I had ignored for a long time, I looked at him. I looked at his work as an inspiration to get me
Mhm.
going. And I said, this guy, he's he's a very strong poet. He's got some amazing things that he shares daily
Mhm.
on his Instagram. Highly recommend that you follow him for those motivational personal growth type things.
Mhm.
And I said to myself, if I've been DJ Roomba for 18 years, I want to add a creative twist to my poetry too. Obviously, not going to do Young Pueblo, but something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so where do I even begin? And I'm thinking and I'm thinking, brainstorming, and I said to myself, why don't I just go back to the basics? What does my name even mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I never asked Google before, what does Raul mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked Google, I said, what does Raul mean? And I was pleasantly surprised to see that Raul means wolf counsel,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
as in Counsel. And I'm like, that's powerful because a wolf is a very powerful animal. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I like the wolf, but counsel, it's not quite artistic yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it still doesn't grab your attention. And
Mm-hmm.
and said, okay, so let me dig a little deeper. This was a counsel, uh, which reminds me of counselor.
Mm-hmm.
And a counselor is a very it's a very knowledgeable person, a very wise person.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I had my light bulb moment. I'm like, wise wolf, wolf, wise wolf. Okay, I got it.
Nice.
So ever since then, the name has stuck.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So I want to get into your wisdom a little bit. I want you to tell, the meat of the story that you talked about on that virtual conference, because
Mm.
that truly was wisdom in how you chose to handle that situation. So tell our audience about that.
So that event that I had such a blessing to attend because it was amazing to be around great speakers, but that's where I got to meet you. Thankfully, God, I believe that that's God in the works for us.
Yeah.
Um, and the theme behind that event was, dominate. How do you dominate, you know, particularly your any aspect of your life?
Hmm.
And I started my talk by saying that that's a word that doesn't quite resonate very positively with my spirit.
Hmm.
If especially if you've been through a negative experience where somebody is trying to dominate, you.
Hmm.
And I think the best way that you can overcome that is to not lose your peace. And
Hmm.
I went through a situation a few years ago. I think it was easily the worst professional experience of my life.
Hmm.
Um, where at one particular point during the day, I was a Spanish teacher at a middle school, and I had to spend a lunch period with students who were serving in school suspensions. So they were not the nicest, uh, you know, they weren't the nicest students to
Hmm.
as far as their behavior. And this one particular student, he wasn't really listening to my instructions. And during that time, what they're supposed to be doing is working on classwork.
Hmm.
After they eat their lunch, they're supposed to do homework, and if they need help, then we give them help. But they're supposed to be doing schoolwork. They're not
Hmm.
supposed to be doing anything else. But this one particular student, I don't think he had homework to do, but he didn't want to do it,
Hmm.
and he was more focused on flipping a bottle about this size, maybe a little smaller,
Hmm.
and he would just flip it. And the only thing he wanted to do was make sure that when he flipped it, that the bottle would stand upright.
Yeah.
And if it didn't, then of course he'd try again and again and again, and that's all he would do until the bottle, stood. But that wasn't enough. He just had to keep it. Right? So I as students are doing things, I'm supposed to be taking notes about whether or not I would recommend that that they've demonstrated enough positive behavior to say, well, I think they're ready to go to class, tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Why or why not? Right.
Right.
So I'm taking these notes about him, and I'm like, he's definitely not listening to instructions. He's not focused on his classwork. He's choosing to flip this bottle,
Mm-hmm.
completely ignore what I'm saying, and he just and after I had asked him, quite a few times, to
Mm-hmm.
please, stop. He noticed, I got real quiet in the sense that I just kept writing things down.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point, he took it on himself to kind of dominate that situation,
Mm-hmm.
and he started to demand that I tell him what I'm writing,
Mm-hmm.
which I wasn't going to go that route.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that point he was trying to get me to retaliate, you know,
Yeah.
because he wasn't being nice about, and he wasn't being respectful about it either. And I won't say the words that he said, but he was
Yeah.
definitely not being polite or respectful.
Yeah.
And I did not respond. I just kept writing. Saying this guy is using vulgar words to speak to me. He's making requests that he shouldn't be making, so on and so forth. And he goes on and he's screaming at me and demanding that I tell him what I'm writing, and I don't respond.
Mm-hmm.
So that starts to frustrate him, right? So he starts to take the bottle and he's pointing it at me,
Mm-hmm.
like 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 this close to my face. Like,
Mm-hmm.
come on, like you want the bottle? You said you want the bottle, so take the bottle. Come
Mm-hmm.
on, take it, take it. I don't. Come on, don't you want the bottle? Take it. And then at one point he just presses the bottle against my face, and at
Ooh,
that,
and I'm just going to stop you right there for 1 second because, I don't know many people, and everyone, you're going to hear Raul's response right after this, but I don't know many people who would have responded in the manner that you do. And I just wanted to emphasize that the way you did. So now tell everybody, your response to this young man.
once he pressed it against my face, I knew that, like, okay, this is this is over.
Mm-hmm.
This is over. Like, I'm already channeling myself enough to say that I'm not going to respond in the way that he wants me to,
Yeah.
because I can lose my dignity, I can lose my peace, I can lose my job if I fight fire with the fire that he's coming at me with, right? Uh,
Keep
okay, so,
going. You're good.
so even though I still wasn't giving in to him even pressing the bottle against my face, I was still taking notes. He's being extremely aggressive. He's literally pressing the bottle against my face and so forth and so forth. And with all the anger he had, he takes the bottle, he slams it on the floor. The bottle breaks open, and water runs out, wets my clothes. And at that point, I got up from my desk and I called for security to have him
Mm-hmm.
escorted out.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day, I still remember him being, extremely upset about it. And he's saying, like, if I had a chance, I would have slapped the Mexican off your face. Like, oh, can't believe you, like angry at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Wow. And I'm going to say this, right, because of the way I was raised, right? So like I know that you know this too, right? And I'm sure you've seen this in your own family, right? Where you respect the adults, right? In the time that we grew up in, right? Like there wasn't this, you were allowed to be disrespectful, right? You were expected to be respectful. And if you weren't respectful, then there would be consequences to that, right? And I know in the school system, it's very hard, right? Because you want to make sure that you are not responding in a way that's going to, you know, I would say have you losing your job. One, also they want to make sure that you're not going to hurt the children and But those days where you were able to spank the kids, even in school, right? Sometimes it's necessary, but the for you to keep your calm and continue writing while this young man is putting the bottle in your face. Talk about not losing your peace, right? You said that earlier, and I wanted to put that here, but just to talk about, the fact that you didn't allow this young man to allow you to lose your peace, for you to react in a way that would be detrimental to, who you are as a person, your job, everything that you stand for, really. Right. So I applaud you for that. And when you told that story, and just the way you said you kept your calm, like, wow. Because I don't even know, and I'm a pretty peaceful person, but I don't even know if I would have been able to respond in that manner to this young man, and I'm a parent too, so I want to put every kid over my knee when they're not doing the right thing. I'm going to be honest with you, right? So, goodness gracious, kudos to you, kudos to you on that. And we have Brandy Johnson out there saying, unfortunately, these kids are just living for the next viral moment, and that is so true. Because of what they see, right? Television, social media, like everything out there says to be violent, right? And if they don't have the structure at home to counteract that violence, right? Because listen, you can't keep them from it, so you need to talk them through it, honestly. And you need to be able to have a strong foundation at home, so that those viral moments don't get to the point where you and this young man had this altercation. Well, he was having the altercation with you because you didn't really have an altercation, right? But so that it doesn't even get to that point, so that we're not raising angry children. So thank you, Brittany, for saying that too. And that is so true with what they're exposed to these days. And I just want to, I'm going to say it again, but I just applaud you for just being the person that you are. And I don't know, how old would you say that young man is now, today?
Well, when I met him, or when I knew him, in that experience, I would say he was in sixth, seventh, or eighth grade.
Wow. Okay.
Uh, so that was I would about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So he's probably in his young
20. Yeah.
young 20s, maybe
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
early 20s.
Yeah. So I hope that early 20s is still, early, but I hope that, this young man will get to the point where he realizes that his behavior then, I hope he's not continuing to have that type of behavior, but I hope that he goes back to realize the person that you were in those moments for him, because that was also not, it wasn't just for you, it was for him as well. So thank you for that. So I don't want to take any more of the time on that story, but I just thought it was like it needed to be mentioned, especially when you talked about, wise wolf and why you call yourself that. And I just wanted to mention the wisdom, that you exemplified in those moments. So let's talk about your book of poems, because before we take a commercial break, I want to give people an excerpt of one of your favorites. And I know it's hard to choose because they're probably all your favorites.
Yes.
But give us an excerpt before we take a commercial break.
I'd love to.
Awesome.
Um, one poem in particular that I've gotten a lot of love from lately is Sunrise. And I have a story for every one of these, but here we go with Sunrise.
Okay.
When the sunlight reaches your eyes, do you feel the inspiration to unleash your inner wolf, the wolf that is hungry to feast on the ants in your mind? Wake up to train your mind to value growth. Do not think about how long progress will take. Remember that you can be better today than you were yesterday.
Mm.
It depends on you to be present and intentional today. This is not the moment to hold back from your fears. This is your moment to break free from the cage of doubt that has kept you from living your passion. Every sunrise should inspire you to strengthen your habits. When you see your reflection in the mirror, remember to appreciate that you have received the gift to live today.
Mm.
Read a book that challenges but also teaches you. You are more likely to achieve your goal if you write it down. Whether you pray or meditate, enjoy the opportunity to journal and reflect. Reflect on how you will be the best version of yourself from sunrise to sunset.
I love it. I love it. And everybody out there, just hold that thought. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but I want to come back and talk about the meaning behind sunrise, because I know you said there's a meaning behind all of them. So stay tuned, everyone. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back to continue this conversation with the wise wolf himself, Mr. Raul Marin. Here we go.
You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
Hello, everyone, and we are back, and we are here with Mr. Raul Marin. And if you are just joining us, you want to make sure that you go back and watch the beginning of the show, because Raul was just sharing wisdom and more recently inspiration through his book of poems. And we're going to get right into this. He just read Sunrise for us. So I want to talk about the meaning. Before I bring him back in, though, I just wanted to mention that the commercials that you see here are those counterparts of mine that are right here on Trajectory TV. So make sure that you check them out. So here we go with Mr. Raul Marin. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Thank you for that. So I so enjoyed Sunrise. And I know that you are focused on inspiring people. So tell us about, the meaning behind Sunrise.
One of my mentors, John Maxwell, whose leadership program I joined, he talks about how there's a rule of 24 hours in life. And in the negative sense, if you had a really bad day, if it moves you to the point of it moves you to tears, it moves you to, you just don't want to talk to anybody, you don't want to do anything, you feel hurt, it's totally okay. We're human. We're going to have good days and we're going to have bad days. But he's like, don't let that grow or continue to develop beyond that 24-hour point.
Yeah.
Because in the next sunrise, now you have an opportunity to be and do better and know better than in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm the reset coach, right? And that's what I say too, like every day is an opportunity to reset. And it's kind of born out of, that same level of thinking where, when the sun rises, right, it's a new day. So take on the new day as a new day, right? So I love that you said that. So talk to us a little bit more about some of the things that you've put in the book and why they're in there, and what. I got this is a three-part question. Three-part question. Kind of. So talk to us about what else you have in there. Some of the reasons why you put it in there, and who you want to impact by these powerful stories.
So I'm going to be open and transparent with you because that's what we do in these spaces.
Yeah, and I just want to thank our before you go on, Brandy says inspiration is more powerful than motivation, which is so true. And you're a powerhouse guy. I love it. Love it. Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you, Brandy. I see Shima Stroud is commenting as well.
Yes.
Hi to Shima. I another mentor I have is Mel Robbins. She's a phenomenal speaker, probably one of the most highly sought after speakers at the moment. She has an amazing book called The High Five Habit. Highly recommended.
Okay.
And I saw her post a reel the other day that said, I don't know why we give so much attention and drama to masks, because at some point the masks come off and realities are revealed. It's like, think about it.
Yeah.
How much work do we put into, like, we're afraid of being judged, we're afraid of telling our story, we're afraid of this or that or the other.
Yeah.
But it's like, but when you're around the right people who, love and support you, and they know that, life happens. It's what and that's, again, like sunrise, from sunrise to sunset. You have the power. You determine how you're going to live your life. And despite the ants that happen in your head, and that's an acronym in that poem. That's why I wrote it in caps lock. Automated negative thoughts. We have thousands of them every day, but we still get to choose not to recognize them.
Yeah.
And
and
ever since.
I was just going to say, because, and Shima can attest to this. So Shima's my bestie out there, and we went through a program, particularly for, removing the masks and being able to live bold and authentically, right? And I would say to people, if you don't really know how to do that, Raul is one of the people that you can connect with so you can figure it out, right? Because you want to be able to take the masks off. And I didn't even realize I had a mask on until I went through the program, but I just knew it was time for me to better myself, right? For me to do more, right? And I wouldn't be sitting here right now with you here on a television show had I not done that work. So I love how you talk about the mask. And most people, like I said, I didn't even realize I was wearing one. And I think most people are probably in that same situation because they're just kind of living life either the way they were taught or told, right? And just not really being their true selves and kind of hiding behind the mask that has either been, they've plastered on themselves or somebody else helped plaster them on, right? Right. So continue. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. So, I'm 39 years old. I don't feel it. I don't feel that way because I definitely try to stay in shape, and I think smiling at the way that I do helps me stay, young.
Yeah.
But for a really, really, really long time, I let imposter syndrome dominate my life. That I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't smart enough, or handsome enough, or talented enough, or strong enough, that I wasn't any of those enoughs because I've been single all my life. Until now.
And I met your beautiful significant other. She's beautiful.
Yeah, she is, and I'm so grateful for her. But I had a very heart-piercing conversation with my mother about that. Like this was just as I started to, really dive deeply into this space of personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
She said, I see that you go out with this girl and that girl and that girl, but nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think the common denominator here is not the women. I,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's is have you thought about the fact that maybe there's a problem with you?
Mm.
And it's like
How did that feel? Like how did that hit when she asked you that question?
that. I mean, that hit hard.
Yeah.
That mean to hear. I mean, your mother's gonna mean it with love, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that took the air out of me for a minute.
Yeah.
And I realized, it has nothing to do with your looks. It has nothing to do with your credentials or your experience or how big or strong you are. It's just if you don't love yourself, then you don't radiate that.
Yeah.
So
Say
how
that
can you
again. Yeah. Say that again. Say that again.
if you don't love yourself, then uh, you can't radiate self love.
Mm-hmm.
And is that how I said it? I don't even remember anymore.
Yeah, you just said you don't radiate that, but I mean, listen, that is well said,
Yeah.
well put. You
It's
don't
so
radiate love, right? Like,
how how can you expect others to love you if
yeah,
you don't love yourself?
yeah.
So when I started to look at and reading Mel Robbins' book, which I highly recommend if you're the audiobook type of person,
Mm-hmm.
give it an audiobook listen.
Mm-hmm.
But she was once a guest on a podcast that I like to listen to, Jay Shetty's podcast. She said, she's a little over 50-year-old woman. And she said, it wasn't too long ago that I realized that when you're in the bathroom in the morning, and whatever time you wake up and you see yourself in the mirror, that she said, it wasn't too long ago, and I'm over 50,
Mm-hmm.
that there are two people in that bathroom.
Mm.
There's you and your reflection. How much love are you giving your reflection?
Yeah.
Are you truly grateful and blessed and appreciative and loving towards yourself,
Yeah.
aka your reflection? Or are
Mm-hmm.
you the kind of person that's just like, oh, you again? Mm, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
happy with you.
Mm-hmm. It's like
Like,
the song that Mary J. Blige just recently put out, right? And I think it took her, many years to be able to get up and say "Good morning, gorgeous," and then write that song, right?
yep.
So yeah, sometimes it does take us a while to realize, how beautiful we really are inside and out.
So, and this is where I'll be totally open and transparent. And
Mhm.
if somebody's listening to this, if you take away anything from my talk with my beautiful friend here, you can achieve anything,
Yeah.
anything. It just starts with not losing your peace
Mhm.
and loving yourself.
Mhm.
I mean, there were nights that I cried myself to sleep because I had great friends, great family, but yet I still felt this hole in my heart. Like,
Yeah.
why does it that nobody loves me to the point that they friend zone me all the time? Oh, Raul, he's a great guy, but friend zone. I really enjoyed your company. I love talking to you, but friend zone.
Mhm.
And it happened with so many. Uh, and so, me being a guy, without really saying it, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna kind of say it, right? Me being a guy, then, and this is where men and women typically or generally differ a little bit.
Mhm.
I'm, I'm very hungry, and if I'm not getting what I'm hungry for, that it wasn't drugs, it wasn't alcohol, it wasn't gambling.
Mhm.
You take what's missing from that particular hunger,
Mm-hmm.
a young guy who's growing and
Yeah.
wants to be involved with the partner, but I'm not getting a partner.
Yeah.
It's going to lead me down a very dark path.
Yeah.
And it started with me this one night that a friend of mine took me to a strip club,
Mm-hmm.
and that it um, what I thought I would never do, and he was relentless. He was not going to give up without
Mm-hmm.
taking me there, as much as I
Mm-hmm.
neglected to, because I'm like, I don't do that. I don't like it. Blah blah blah. So you just got your driver's license. I'm going to take you. Like I'm going to take you. I don't care what you tell your parents. I'm taking you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so I come to find out that I liked it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's- I'm a guy. I'm hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I hunger for that.
Mm-hmm.
I get very attached to one particular dancer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And again, here's me with years and years of rejection,
Mm-hmm.
right? Oh, you're a great guy, you're a nice guy, you're this and you're that, but friend zone.
Mm-hmm.
Like here's this beautiful woman giving me all kinds of attention that I wanted,
Mm-hmm.
great conversations, and then the very passionate dancing.
Mm-hmm.
But that was what followed that, a really big payout.
Yeah.
And I got really attached to her, and it took me a while to realize, as much as I enjoyed her company, she was a lot more interested in my wallet than my money.
Mm-hmm.
In my
And I
wallet
was just,
than me.
yeah, I was just going to ask you that question. Did you find that, that was her motive, right?
It took me a while.
Mm-hmm.
Took me a while.
Mm-hmm. So how would you say you kind of came out of that mode? Like, when did you start realizing your value as a man?
It was about 3 years ago at the start of the pandemic
Mm-hmm.
when I said to myself, I'm tired. I'm so tired of being tired.
Mm-hmm.
So tired.
Yeah.
Like it at some point it just hits you,
Yeah.
and it's going to be different for everybody. I think it sounds cliche that and I'll hear a lot of speakers do this, to engage with the audience. Like, who's tired of being tired? And people raise
Mm-hmm.
your hands. Like, but everybody has that moment where it just hits you, like
Yeah.
bricks. Like you are tired of being tired, and like it's over. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that addiction. Because
Wow.
even though I got past going to strip clubs,
Mm-hmm.
that hunger for that
Mm-hmm. We understand.
attention, that
Yeah.
that hunger would not go away,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it ate me alive for years
Wow.
until about 3 years ago,
Yeah.
when I said I I, I just can't do this anymore. Enough is enough,
Mm-hmm.
and I started to. And this is where it says, no matter how much you say you love God, no
Mm-hmm.
matter if you practice religious or not, if you're spiritual, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how much you say you love God, there is always another level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. And
And yeah,
my mentor says this, and something I realized a while ago, and I actually did a speech on it because I was just thinking about the fact that we have the power to choose, right? And so you made a choice, right? And I'm not saying that the choice is easy. I'm just saying that God gives us the power to choose. And all the things that we have, right? That is the thing that we have power over, the choice, because he wants us to choose us. He wants us to choose his word, his will, his way. You know what I mean? Like, so we have the power to choose to change our lives, right? And of course, we're human and we're going to make mistakes. We're going to mess this thing up probably, right? Until we get it right. But we have a choice. So Before we close out, because I want to take a moment to close out with one of your poems. But before we close out, give us quickly, like, what it was there, one thing or, a compilation of things, but what actually made you say, you know what, I'm tired of being tired, and now I got to put the action behind tired of being tired. What was that made you change?
So my mom's conversation. I think that was the
Mm-hmm.
conversation with my mom was like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow, I'd never heard mom talk to me like that.
Yeah.
That was like the take off your mask moment.
Yeah.
But that in combination with an experience that I was invited to participate in that focused on mind, body, and spirit,
Mm-hmm.
like I had never done before. Um, that was that was the mindset changer
Yeah, I love it. So
because
we're
yeah,
we're pretty
it,
much
it,
at the. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish that
that
thought.
that experience was for 66 days,
Mm, wow.
mind, body, spirit, and there
Wow.
were so many tasks that we had to do, from sunrise to sunset,
Hmm.
that focused on developing your mind, your
Hmm.
body, and your spirit, aka
Hmm.
your connection to God. And it was in that time that I started to write poems a lot more passionately because the confidence in me wasn't there.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I had that, well, who's going to read it? Who's going to care? Who's going to
Yeah.
buy it? Who's going to this and that? But when I really realigned myself with God to the point where it's like, I know that He loves me and I need to love Him more than ever,
Yeah.
because
Ooh,
now I look at life from a totally different perspective.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate to close it out here, right? Like I hate that. So everybody listen, I want you to connect with the Wise Wolf here, Mr. Raul Marin, on his different social media platforms, and also to get his book. And I'm gonna post the book link on the show page so that everybody can get the book. And I want you to close it out tonight. You close it out with another poem. We have about 3 minutes, so close us out
Ooh.
with another poem.
All right. I'm gonna close you out with another one that I've gotten a lot of love for.
Mhm.
This one's called Start. Today is the day. Start because you are the author. Every page and chapter have your charm, character, and identity. Only you know how to tell your story. A story of gratitude, growth, and greatness. Every day is a new page to start fresh, not to continue from the last one. Do not hope for it to be a great day. You make it a great day. The mind can get lost thinking that the time is not right, that you are not ready to grow from yesterday. Between your mind, heart, and courage, you have more than what you need to begin this journey. Start to develop and maintain a mindset of growth and not goals. If you fail to reach your dream, it is not because of external forces. Greatness is never given, it is built from your consistent courage. The growth of success will come from your commitment to start. Start each day with the courage to persevere, the patience to never quit, the passion to pursue your purpose. Just start today.
Amen. So I couldn't have done it better with final last words. You heard it here. Start whatever that is, whatever you're passionate about, whatever you are called to do. Find your purpose and get started, everybody. I appreciate you so much, my friend. I thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for being so transparent and authentic. Like you said, when you start to rip off the mask, right? So I'm sure that your story has helped someone so much out there to be able to get started, for one, and to also take the masks off and start to live their true life as their true self. And I know that people are going to love themselves more after hearing what you had to say. And I would say, if you want more inspiration, that you go out and that you get the book. Again, like I said, we're going to put the book of poems right on the show page, the link on the show page. This is the name, Rise with Gratitude, Poems to Inspire Your Growth and Greatness, everyone. So look for that show page. It'll be there very shortly after the show is over. We appreciate you so much. We love you all out there for joining us here today. Look for Mr. Raul on social media as well. And everybody, we will see you again next Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. right here on The Whole Living Show. Thank you so much. Thank you, my friends. I appreciate
Much
you.
love.